Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Dr. Martha Simmons with another session of Preaching and Preachers on Facebook Live via Restream and on YouTube. Come on in and join us. Let us know that you are out there. This is going to be a phenomenal broadcast today. Come on in and let me know that you are out there. And when you come in, tag someone. Tag someone. This will be up on my page for a couple of weeks, and then on YouTube probably for a couple of years. Come on in and let me know that you are out there. It is. It feels like already 100 degrees in Atlanta because it's summertime, and that's what we do. We do 100-degree weather, and it is wonderful. And I hope it is wonderful where you are. Praying for those who are experiencing flooding. Uh, Shout out to Reverend Tracy in New Jersey. I think she got trapped in her church due to flooding, but she is fine. I chatted with her, but everyone who is going through difficulties with extreme weather, global warming is a real thing. It's a real thing. Come on in. Let me know that you are out there. And today I'm also going to allow people as much as we can ask questions. You've got some of the brightest people today, so go ahead and use their brains. Ask them your homiletical questions. Come on in. I see folk coming in. Give folk about another 30 seconds to join me. Thank you to those who are joining me on YouTube. I haven't given as much attention as I should to YouTube, but you all have been kind and just subscribing one after another, and I so appreciate that. Reverend Marco Fields, good to have you with me. When you come in, tag someone. They can jump on right now, or they can watch this, like I said, on my Facebook page for a couple of weeks, and it's up on YouTube. All right, all right, all right. Let me go ahead and get started because I want to give these three fabulous guests as much time as possible. As always, I am praying for those who are sick, praying for those experiencing a season of bereavement. And today I'm praying especially for parents, praying for parents. All right. Going through the summer, praying for parents. Please join me next Monday, July 28th, as I discuss the significance of the Chitlin Circuit. I didn't say chitterlings, I said chitlin. The Chitlin Circuit, along with hooping. You don't want to miss that broadcast. And then going to take a minute off and come back in August and talk about churches avoiding foreclosure, how churches can avoid foreclosure. And following that, we're going to go back to something that we do every year, and that's chaplains for those who want to be a chaplain, somebody doing chaplaincy. So next Monday, the Chitlin Circuit. Come on in. Come on in. All right. I appreciate those who are typing in names. Today, I want to talk about preaching in a swipe and soundbite culture. And that means all those things you believe it means. First, we have the amazing Dr. Dominique Robinson. She is a New Jersey native and a millennial womanist, homiletician, and justice advocate. She was reared in the Pentecostal tradition, and she answered her call to ministry at the age of 13. She earned the Bachelor of Arts in Government from Georgetown University, Masters of Divinity, concentrating in biblical interpretation, and the Master of Theology, concentrating in homiletics, both from Candler School of Theology. She earned a Doctor of Ministry degree from Columbia Theological Seminary in Gospel and Culture. Her dissertation, I Homiletic, Preaching That Clicks, is groundbreaking research. She is currently a PhD student at Christian Theological Seminary in the world's first African American Preaching and Sacred Rhetoric program. She is also, so Reverend Reynolds in the same program. He is the John Hines Assistant Professor of Preaching at the Seminary of the Southwest in Austin, Texas. And she takes also great pride in having been the former inaugural Dean of Chapel and Assistant Professor of Religion at Wiley College in Marshall, Texas. Then we have joining us the Reverend Jason C. Reynolds. He stands at the forefront of theological innovation, pioneering research into how artificial intelligence, AI, is reshaping Black preaching. He is the senior pastor of the Emmanuel Baptist Church in Silicon Valley, San Jose, specifically. And this is the largest African American organization in Silicon Valley. He leads a multi generational congregation while pursuing his PhD in African American preaching and sacred rhetoric at Christian Theological Seminary. He brings a rare combination of technical precision and spiritual depth to his work. And this is because his work is rooted in mechanical engineering. Yeah, that's a degree he earned from Washington University in St. Louis, and his divinity training, which was received at McCormick Theological Seminary. His current doctoral research explores the intersection of AI, transhumanism, Black hermeneutics, and rhetorical analysis. I'm telling you, we got the people today, okay? Under his pastoral leadership since 2012, Emmanuel Baptist Church of San Jose has undergone remarkable transformation, eliminating over $3.5 million in debt. He's a real pastor, too, okay? He is a real pastor. Then he has earned recognition for his community service from the California Legislative Assembly, the City of San Jose, Santa Clara Public Health Department, and the African American community generally. Last but certainly not least, we have with us all the way from Canada the Reverend Dr. Mark Jefferson. Dr. Jefferson brings academic, pastoral, and public ministry experience that reflects a powerful voice for contemporary proclamation and theological formation. He has served at Alfred Street Baptist Church in Virginia, Friendship Baptist Church in Atlanta, and the House of Hope Atlanta. He is the associate professor in the John Gladstone Chair of Preaching and Worship and dean of the Sarah Nicholson Chapel at Acadia Divinity School in Canada. Dr. Jefferson also served on the faculty of Virginia Theological Seminary. He's taught at Howard School of Divinity, Sewanee School of Theology, and Pittsburgh Theological Seminary. He's a graduate of Norfolk State, where he received the BA, Candler School of Theology, where he received the MDiv, and Emory University is where he also earned the PhD. His work explores the confluence of race, class, technology, contemporary cultural expressions, and preaching. His forthcoming book, as in 2025, is titled I Too Preach America: Race, Class, and the Future of Christian Proclamation. We can hardly wait for this book. His project after that he's just begun work on is titled The Algorithm and the Anointing: Proclamation at the Edge of Surveillance and Spirit. I'm telling you, I said we got the people today. And he has preached around the globe. All right. All right. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. First question, I'm going to go to Reverend Jason Reynolds. We know that Black folk are part of an oral tradition, but although we are part of an oral tradition, so much has changed in the country. So now people often need some oral tradition translation. So how can preachers adapt traditional call and response narrative forms to digital and multimedia forms, especially for younger generation?
Absolutely. First, I think that's a great question. And thank you so much, Doc, for having us on. We will be remiss not to acknowledge you in this
Bless
space.
you.
Um, that said, first, the oral tradition, of course, within the Black church has been amazing. The call and response, the movement of communication, not just from the pulpit, but also reverberating back from the audience, is a bedrock. And there are ways that has often been kind of misnomered, is kind of looked at as a negative thing, which
Right.
is not the case. There's this real intentional way by which the Black church has always recognized that it's not just one directional that happens in preaching, that there's this message that lives within. Now, when we get into the digital spaces, and a lot of churches hit this, especially in COVID, when we didn't have the
Mm-hmm.
gifting of folks around, is now how do we retell these stories? How do we
Mm-hmm.
continue to share this faith and not get that feedback, or at least not get it immediately, right? You can
Right.
do versions of Zoom, and that you get the cacophony of sound, and that messes everything up. You can do things on Facebook or social media. So now, what the preacher has learned or is learning to do, what I recommend is how to continue to tell the story.
Uh-huh.
I remember Dr. Thomas used to say this often, that truth pushed deep enough goes universal.
That's
And
right.
there's these ways that we can still tell these stories and
Mm-hmm.
be more concise in how we tell them, and then use those as draw back into that other oral tradition. So I don't think we need to forsake the child or the baby with the bathwater, throw the whole thing
Mm-hmm.
out, but we could use these new mechanisms, these digital media, to tell the story, whet the appetite, get folks used to the messages, but to draw them back into other forms where now they could be more participatory as opposed to it being more one directional. So I think
I like
that's an easy way to kind of do it, along with AI stuff. There's all these great ways where you can use AI tools to now make it visual. You can tell stories, create animation that helps to grab people into the stories. So then we can almost be like what Fred Craddock said, the story twice heard. Right. So by the
Yeah.
time people even get into the sanctuary, they've already heard these stories echoing all around them on digital media. So I'll stop there.
All right. All right. I know now. You all know. I mean, he said so much. I hope you all caught all of that. Dr. Robinson, how do we do it? How do we help preachers adapt traditional call and response narrative forms to digital and multimedia, especially for young folk with these sound bite retentions?
Well, again, y'all know I'm good in Methodist and back at protocol. Thank you so much, Dr. Simmons, for this opportunity to share with these amazing colleagues, representing as the one female. Praise baby Jesus. I want to jump right in. Dr. Simmons told us to have fun, and y'all streaming, y'all know I'm crazy, so I'm here to have fun. But to answer this question, I think what we need to do is actually reframe how we even separate digital platforms and or social media technology from the tradition. I think we need to actually see it as part of the oral tradition in translation. Black preaching was already inherently like interactive, like social
Mhm.
media and technology. So to
Mhm.
say amen or say that were theological affirmations. And then if we just consider the call and response components as already being intertwined within the social media and technology call and responses, it becomes a part of the tradition. So like digital call and response shows up visible in comment sections and reaction and emojis and chat prompts and real-time kind of Q&A tools in the preaching moment that help when we start to see this hybrid homiletic come around. And then as Reverend Reynolds shared, we use visual cues, text overlays, lower thirds, slide design, and vocal rhythm to invite engagement. And this becomes what we know now called digital litanies that viewers can screenshot, repeat the QR code. So like if we see it as part of the actual tradition where
Right.
response is engaging it and that's part of the tradition, then there's no separation, because digital call and response isn't just about noise, it's about nurturing spiritual connection across time and space.
I like that. I like that. Okay. Let's stop the bifurcation. I like that. Dr. Jefferson, what do you think?
I think the short version for me is that it's less about the how and more about the intention behind it. I think oftentimes people see the digital world as estranged from this world. And so
Hmm.
many churches have functioned as if they can avoid this encounter with the digital.
Yeah.
And what happens is we end up reinforcing these poor habits that we've cultivated over the years, in which if we're not doing pastoral engagement with people without the internet is only going to reinforce this disconnect. So in
Mm.
actuality, in many respects, the question is, do we want to connect? And I don't want to make a fundamental assumption that we want to connect. Sometimes call and response becomes a way that we engage people to say that they had say.
Mm.
Oftentimes churches kind of squeeze the democratic nature out of call and response. Y'all
Mm.
not saying amen. We chastise and beat and flagellate people into this call and response reality so that they're being cajoled into this acceptance of something that they haven't quite heard or understood. And so
Mm.
I think this question becomes, do we want to hear what people have to say?
I like that. Yes. Yes. Do we want to hear what they have to say?
Yeah. May I add something else
Regardless
to
of
that,
people.
Doc? I just want to say something else. And this is so pressing to me because I meet so many clergy who have low self-esteem about the church not being full. The church not being full. It's not what it used to be. And so they look out and they see less people and assume less people are watching.
Mm.
Whoa, whoa.
When in actuality, there's more out there than you can see if you're willing to engage that space in that world. And so sometimes by not engaging in the fullness of call and response, the democratic nature of listening to others and therefore giving back to them, I think we miss that in the digital age. We're going to see this kind of stratification with those who do and then those who don't. And you'll see the success or the lack of success come from that.
My God, my goodness, that was that. I mean, okay, okay. Let me just keep going to the questions because you all, I mean, you're making me think about so much stuff. Pastor Reynolds, in a swipe culture
Mhm.
and a soundbite culture, how do preachers create inclusive messages that include specific community challenges and broader societal issues? You know, we keep seeing online, or at least I keep seeing online, because I have a multiplicity of Facebook followers, a whole lot of just preach Jesus. I don't know what else we're supposed to be preaching, but you know, that just but when you get to a swipe and a
Mhm.
soundbite culture, you know,
Hard.
part of that also assumes that you're curating for people with, you know, certain attention spans. So anyway, how do you make sure you create an inclusive message and it's got the community and broader societal issues included? How do you do that?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a great question, one that I think I'm still yet struggling with, right?
Okay.
And by that struggle, you recognize that there are moments where your direct internal community needs a very specific thing that
Right.
sometimes varies from a broader community. And
Mm-hmm.
pastorally, or the preacher going into that space, you have to be able to discern, work with the Holy Spirit to be able to do that. And sometimes you have to be willing to be able to say a message that may be not broadly accepted, but is needed in a very specific context, right? Like
Yes.
it makes me think about the Marvin Sapp, "Close the Doors," right? And that goes
Whoa.
out terribly, right? But there's any preacher that has ever stood in the pulpit knows there are times when folks start walking and moving. You like, hey, I need y'all to sit down. And so I think we're constantly working through those spaces and trying to make those judgments. But I think we also have the ongoing question about what does it really mean to preach Jesus, right?
Mm.
So when we say, and as you've mentioned, just preach Jesus, if you're saying that, then we should only utilize Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, right? Or we should only talk about the New Testament. We should not talk about the historical issues and challenges that people are facing as they're hearing Jesus, then I don't think we're preaching Jesus either, right?
All
Because we
right
see
now.
that all throughout the gospel, that Jesus, before he often gives the message, he's dealing with folks' needs. Hey, these folks are hungry, let's feed them. This person
That's
has
right.
a physical ailment. Let's take care of that ailment. Then we can get them to this idea about salvation. However, in our culture, it's easy to give salvation because we really don't want to do the work of the culture, and we don't want to talk about the complicity, especially even within the Black church, to the way in which the U.S. Itself has held back people that look like us, Black and brown, consistently, and what we see in the current politic right now. Like, we are here where we are right now because of what we were doing. Right. And now we want to pray. And I was like this, well, we should have been praying, last year. We should have been praying when we were voting. We should have been praying as we were walking
Whoa.
out to make sure that we were
Hmm.
doing all of these other things. So we have to be able to. So I say all of that to say we have to deal with very specific community needs, but we also have to be mindful that each of these communities are rooted in something much larger. And not to speak to the much larger thing injures even sometimes our local community.
Hmm. Dr. Jefferson, how would you respond to that question?
I would say that Tom Long in his book, The Witness of Preaching, highlights the fact that the preacher comes from a community to speak to a community. And what I notice, particularly as I peruse Facebook every green moon or so, is that preachers see themselves in too few communities. They
Hmm.
see themselves as, I'm a pastor of this church, I'm a leader here, I work here, I'm a family person here. But we're part of these larger networks and rhythms of the world. We are part of this international capitalistic system. And so part of us recognizing how we can preach more inclusively is to realize how our realities overlap with people all around
Yes.
the world. To Pastor Reynolds' point, we are in a global system of united capitalism. Therefore, in that, there are patterns of action that happens here and happens there and
My
happens there.
goodness.
But
Yeah.
when we isolate our experience and make it seem that our church on this corner is the only people experiencing something, we
Hmm.
miss the power of broader connectivity, so that pastoral message for that people in that time has that general relevance and resonance, because it's speaking to something concrete that also manifests concretely, but contextualized differently in other places and spaces around the world. Our students often remark that how Dr. King's preaching is even relevant now. They say if you close your eyes, you would think that then was now and now was then.
My goodness. Yeah.
And what happens is they're able to see that the patterns that Dr. King talked about, militarism and economic and the violence that's going on, they see that even now. And so these patterns that he spoke about and gave utterance to then have this broader inclusive relevance, even though
Absolutely.
other people may not find themselves tucked into all of those things. They see how these people are being gentrified over there, and those people are being gentrified over there. And they're
Hmm.
realizing that the same factors that are changing and altering the way that they live and changing their faith is also impacting others as well.
Yeah. So look for the global, look for your local and the global patterns,
Absolutely.
because they are there. Dr. Robinson, respond to that question for me.
So, this was a driving question for me when I was doing my doctorate of ministry in birth eye homiletic. It was a matter of, at that time, I was serving as a youth pastor for Black children who had the questions around, we're past the civil rights movement. We're in the midst of what we're calling the Black Lives Matter movement, or at least we were beginning to call it that. And it was, well,
Mhm.
where's God in that? And it just comparing and contrasting those times and seasons, the movement was outside of the church. So where was the safety of my kids or our kids expressing their rage and strategizing? So this driving question of, we got to meet them in a technological world. It's a reminder of, like, short form doesn't mean shallow. Preachers,
All right.
our task is to compress theological truth without compromising its depth. And we're still called to speak directly to the pain and the possibility of marginalized communities. And just because it's in a shorter amount of time, that means there's more work for the preacher to make it succinct, concise, and user-friendly for the persons to engage it and use it. But contextual brevity becomes the prophetic task of every preacher. It does not mean shorter, shallow. It means get clear, get concise, and make your point clear. And I think that prevents us from the dangerous sound bites because we're talking too much.
Yes, Lord. Exactly. Exactly. And we were on doing a 30-minute sermon, and we could have said it in 15.
7.
We could have said it in 15 if we recognized the patterns and had the language.
Right.
May I raise something?
I was going to ask something. Go ahead.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Pastor. Go
No,
ahead.
go ahead, Reverend Jason.
Pastor Reynolds. Go ahead.
So what I was going to say is I felt like Otis Moss III preached on this relatively recently. He pulled a text from the book of Acts, and he was talking about how long that Paul had this very long message, so long that a young man fell asleep, fell out, and died. Right,
Yeah.
and
I
and
preached
his
that
his
sermon. Yeah.
framing of it was, man. What he did not recognize in the moment was how he was giving this information caused harm. Now he comes back and fixes it, like he goes and raises the child up, all this great stuff. But he then said the same thing to the preacher today. How might we be doing the same thing to a generation that can't listen to 45 minutes to an hour of preaching, right? What other ways might we be able to come back and say, how do we bring life? And then when we've made the mistake, how do we go back to resurrect? To bring those back to life that might need it, because we said too much and we missed the point.
Yeah. Or we just killed off folks.
We was just kill folks off.
We did preaching there. Well, we just did preaching that killed off some folks, okay?
Right.
And then we couldn't resurrect them, or didn't even think about it. Yeah. I love that. Pastor Reynolds, since you talking, what do Black churches need to do about the use of hybrid platforms? I appreciated that Dr. Robinson already told us, stop the separation, like the sacred and the secular ridiculousness that we do. But what do Black clergy need to do about the use of hybrid platforms and how to leverage these platforms? And as people become more accustomed to digital content and shorter engagement windows. I think you were already there. Go further with
Yeah.
that.
So first, I think we need to deal with the fear of what these things are. I think normal to the church is everything new we approach with fear, and I think there's appropriate fear that we should have with certain things that we're getting into, how
Mhm.
information and privacy is being held. We should be mindful of that, but we need to deal with that, right? We don't get to just bury our heads in the sand and act like it is
Mhm.
not there, whether that
Mhm.
be on Zoom, whether there be all these other platforms that we desire to use. So that's one part of it. It is being okay to acknowledge our limitations. And so the Black pastor for a long time has been like the catch-all, can do everything. And as we
Everything. Yeah.
go into this digital world, there's a lot of things that many of us just can't do.
That's right.
And now we can't be the only one that's the smartest one that has all the things at the table. Now we need to be able to lean on the wisdom and the ingenuity and the brilliance of so many other folks that
I like
now
them.
spread our leadership in different ways. So
Yeah.
you may not be able to do all the technical stuff, but you can still talk about the message while you allow other folks and their leadership to come in and take that into the technical space. And then
Mhm.
last but not least, kind of the way in which I think about it is I also still think that we need to push on what it means to be embodied.
Mm.
So whereas digital space is really important, and
Mhm.
there is something that we lose in digital spaces. Like no matter what medium you use, you will always lose something, whether it's television, but there's always a loss. And so we need to be able to think about what that loss is and then figure out how do we add that back to any other programming that we're doing? How do we still make sure that people have all of these things? Like I think there's something important when Jesus is incarnated. This idea of embodiment is
I like
real.
it.
And so we
Yes.
take the same thing digitally. How do we give this out? But then how do we embody it so that it actually feels it has legs and feet that it can continue to run? So those are a couple of ideas that I could offer now.
Yeah. I think, the embodiment piece, I think, is critical. And I think, we just keep glossing over it, especially when we say, oh, we are preaching and we've got these chats. And basically, after we say good morning to the people and we're praying for you, etc., we good. We good.
Right.
Because we don't understand embodiment yet
Yeah.
fully
Yeah.
in digital spaces. But Dr.
Mhm.
Jefferson, I got to hit you with a different question, uh, just so I can get through all my questions. What do preachers need to know about what some people are calling techno spirituality, which involves learning how spiritual practices and faith communities can migrate into digital spaces, whether they are, using small groups, physical wellness checks, while maintaining some intimacy and authenticity. And I think we started this with the word embodiment. So, what do preachers need to know?
Well, part of that, to build on what Pastor Jason said, is that the notion of being human is at risk. It's at risk. We are living in a world in which a handful of people want to push a humanist agenda, a transhuman agenda, so that we can transcend the limits of our human body, so that people can exist forever on this terrestrial plane. So oftentimes we don't understand the stakes are exceedingly high, and I think that's probably what's pushing me now. As I get a chance to peruse Facebook and YouTube, and I'm watching people preach on Sundays, I'm not hearing the urgency of the day. There are articles that say by 2045, most jobs will be phased out. 2045, that's most jobs. We're not talking about the ones who are being eaten up, even in the interim.
Right.
Good white collar jobs being consumed. So this is not something that we can push off to the side. But oftentimes what gets in the way of us developing hybrid ministry is oftentimes churches don't have conversation about technology. There's no theology of technology.
Right.
One of the things that I learned is that I preached for the bicentennial of Virginia Theological Seminary. I went around the world, 5 years, 200 sermons. So this was in the heart of COVID and all those things. I'm preaching in empty churches. I'm preaching in churches with folks in mass sitting 2 rows apart. I'm preaching to complete strangers. And what I'm realizing, and what I realized in my travels, is that people needed to not forsake being together. And oftentimes pushing church to the digital space only, or only keeping it in the physical space, limits the power of what the church is. You can be part of the called out regardless of the medium. And so I think, unfortunately, for many of us, we've made so many inroads in the building of our physical buildings, but we have not built a digital church in a digital world. So unfortunately, we'll be left with the building that we built and not the one that we need to build.
My God, as those buildings fall apart and shrink in terms of congregation, that's what we're going to be left with. That is what we're going to be left with. Dr. Robinson, so what's the role of knowing congregational demographics in a swipe culture? Meaning, how do you understand the technological adoption rate of your congregation? And this also applies to, like awareness of data on topics like the attention span of millennials and Gen Z and etc. So how important is that? Is what role does that play?
It plays
knowing your congregation.
I mean, it plays a significant role. In essence, I can't remember which scholar said this, but I'm sure we all believe this. Preaching is radically contextual. If you are preaching to a people who are gathered, however you define that gathering, whether it's in person, digital, virtual, hybrid, phygital, all the different things, and knowing who's in the pew or on the phone is a justice issue. Because access shapes experience. And we have to remember then, if we're going to be like Jesus, if Jesus preached parables using the language of the day, which was the mode of the day, then we too need to do the same thing. That it's so pivotal in doing that. So spiritual formation and tech adaptation are both pastoral responsibilities. Knowing our congregation's tech habits, whether they are on TikTok or not, or still reading a bulletin, matters then to how you develop ministries to shape them and help with the spiritual formation. And I know this might sound kind of antithetical to who we are as preachers, but the process is beyond the preaching moment, right? It's not just what you proclaim in that preaching moment. You got to know that for the full work of being a pastor, even if you aren't officially a pastor, your proclamation is pastoral to a people living in this society. People need to know what and where is God in the midst of the hell we're living in. So if you have a sacred responsibility of proclaiming good news, then you must have the pastoral mindset of knowing then who you're talking to. So part of that is just not the preaching moment, but designing hybrid worship to match the patterns of the people, whether it's multi-platform, multi-length, multi-sensory. It's the work that we all have to do. It's literally like our God called to do this. If Paul wrote letters, then surely we need to send live streams and adapt the gospel to the times.
At least be from letters to live stream. Please have gone that far. Okay. Please have gone that far. Okay. So Pastor Reynolds, so would you recommend, because we're talking about embodiment, we're talking about
Mhm.
reaching and understanding who's in our congregation, would you recommend feedback mechanisms for churches, meaning implanting and interpreting data from digital feedback tools like polls and Q&A during live stream, or would you do that another way?
I absolutely recommend it. I think it's one of those things that is humbling, right? Like when you do something in the moment live, you don't get a chance to control it. You
Mm,
ask a question and it can go left really quickly.
yes.
But when you preach, things can go left really quickly. And if we are honest and we really employ this, it actually just becomes a great reminder and mechanism for our own improvement, right? It's the same way that I think about it like a comic. Like oftentimes what they do is they go and they kind of shop a joke around. They figure
Hmm.
it out. They see how the folks respond. They refine it, and then they come back. I know the preacher. We don't like to think about it that way. We this is inspired by God. It's going to be perfect the first time. But if you're an itinerant preacher, you didn't figure it out. You didn't hit multiple congregations. Reverend Mark, I know you were able to move that message around a couple of times in that 200 man, and all of a sudden by the end, you had something that was really amazing. And so, not only in the preaching moment, but even how we lead the church. So, there are all these surveys that you can do live stream. And one of the things I've recognized as we employ this at our church is how people it draws them further into the message. They
Right.
feel more engaged. They've said something. And when given the grace to be able to pivot, sometimes I'm thinking we need to hit a certain idea, but the congregation has just said their real problem is over here, right?
Hmm.
And the church would always do this. Like you'll be ready and you're going, all of a sudden somebody starts screaming. And you recognize in this moment we need to stop and pray. We need to shift strategy to take care of what's right in front of us. Well, you can do the same thing digitally. Man, we just need to shift strategy to deal with what's right in front of us because that need is more pressing now. And these tools just allow you to be able to do so.
Yeah. So the feedback mechanisms are in there. They're in more and more important. Dr. Robinson, speak to
Absolutely.
that. Speak to that as well.
To the feedback loop. Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
well, the feedback mechanisms,
yeah.
should people implant and interpret, do things like digital feedback tools, polls,
Yeah.
surveys during live stream, or would you use other methods?
Uh, I, I would use all the methods that are available, and I would start with therapy. I'm gonna say I'm starting
My
with
goodness.
therapy. I'm saying that because listen, I don't want to talk for all preachers, but there is a sense of arrogance that comes with saying we are called by God to preach God's word, and
Mm,
hearing and receiving feedback is not always something we welcome. And so I think first I would say yes, because feedback isn't necessarily a threat to authority, but it's an
right.
invitation to spirit led improvement. And so I definitely that's one of the parts of it's antiquated now. I think, well, I'll share this. I homiletic, and Dr. Mark Jefferson knows this because he was a mentor helping me. I homiletic was a research that I did over 3,000 Black millennials at the time between 2013 and 2017. So part of this highlighting of I homiletic, which is what I called it because I realized Apple didn't own the I, was a
Hmm.
matter of getting feedback or resharing is what's helping reshape the sermon for a proclamation for the needs of Black millennials at that time. I was a
Right.
Black millennial, or I am a geriatric Black millennial now, but I was a Black millennial, and part of
There
it was,
are no geriatric millennials. Okay,
no,
go
you
ahead.
gotta tell my OBGY that. But listen, and
There
so,
aren't.
so, you know,
My OBGYN will tell you that. There are no geriatric millennials. Okay. Yeah.
y'all, that
Listen
was
to
a
your
commercial
energy
break.
level, honey. Go.
Y'all, yes. So yes, and getting the feedback. So some of the pieces about preaching was that we would be done in that moment and then not encounter it again. Like
Yeah.
like Pastor Reynolds said, we don't either revisit it or reshape it, redo it, or work it through. But it's funny when we define preaching, we know that it is a multilingual conversation between you, God's people, God, the text, the context. So then how then would you prevent the people and persons who are engaged from offering feedback from the same sacred moment that we all are experiencing? And so I think the first thing I actually would really tell preachers is to work on their pride and their ego to be able to do this and receive it, and maybe read it in private after or with a therapist.
Yeah. Yeah. If necessary, because some of the things that people will tell you in surveys, okay, will, as the kids say, hurt your feelings.
Big time.
Um,
Listen.
And it was hard, but it was right. It was right because you asked them
Mm-hmm.
what you think about this. You didn't ask them to agree. But I think we're going to have to get used to feedback mechanism. If we don't create them, the people will. The people will. Ask Marvin Wine when he said close those doors.
No.
Okay? Oh yeah. No, no,
I'm
no. The feedback mechanisms
It
exist
happened.
with or without you. Okay?
Correct.
So
period.
so
And then he
why don't
responded to
you
it.
He responded.
exactly?
Right. So you're forcing yourself to respond. You're gonna respond one way or the other.
And
It's
he
better to
ended
be
up
able to put it on your
responding.
turn. Right.
Okay? He and it the whole thing could have been done on his term, but it was when he responded. So these feedback mechanism exist whether we
Mhm.
want them to or not. Dr. Jefferson, in a swipe in soundbite culture, how do you create meaningful
Mm.
networks for care, support, and encouragement? You know, how do you do that? You know,
I think one of the things that I find to be lacking, particularly over the last 20 years or so, is the lack of formation that churches provide.
whoa.
Structured formation.
Mm.
Sunday school has died in many respects. Churches
Mhm.
have really phased out Bible study to a certain extent. Church has
Yeah.
been boiled down to a worship experience and has left the people who need more lacking. So they get that sustenance from other places and
Mm.
spaces. So they may be a member of your church, but they're also part of other meaningful relationships in their lives and meaningful groups that are giving them the sustenance that church is not. I say that to say people are struggling to make sense of what's happening because people are not being formed in all the different ways with social media and all of those technological outlets being ways to do that. A lack of formation is going to leave malnutrition and maldeveloped disciples. These
Mm.
disciples that were not engaging in a structured, formatted, systematic way, we're leaving them to their own devices theologically.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then with everyone having their own opinion, we leave them even in a more adrift position. So when you say, how do we create meaningful engagement and create communities? Number one is desire. Do I want our people to meet? People
Mm.
want to meet, but do I want to do the work of bringing people together?
All
Sometimes
right.
we allow the fact that Sunday is the only place where people come to worship. But churches 100 years ago, 50 years ago, even churches now were so many more things than just a worship station.
Yes, Lord. Yes.
Mhm.
Sunday
Yes.
school wasn't created for you to eat butter cookies and
Yeah.
fruit punch. Sunday school was a way
Okay.
of educating illiterate children who wouldn't have
Mhm.
education otherwise. But
Yes.
we have boiled our faith down to these very egocentric and isolated understandings of what it means to be. And so this notion to be is being atrophied to the point where now people are saying, I don't even know if I need to be with other people. The
Mm.
church is a radical claim on community. It's saying that you can be this and that, this or that, as long as you have this set of beliefs wherever you are across the diaspora,
Mm.
you can still tap in.
Yeah.
Paul's letters, the same thing. But I think we've lost the desire to connect. And I think people are going to connect beyond the church if the church does not desire to connect.
Mhm.
Mhm. Someone's going to fill the vacuum. Uh, Pastor Reynolds, say a little bit more about that. How do we create in this technological age? How do we create, you know, online and in person networks for care, support, and engagement? Dr. Jefferson said first, we've got to have the desire to do it.
Absolutely. And I think also we have to recognize that the church responds to context. I think when when the US is at a very comfortable space, everybody's out going out and doing their jobs. All kids are going and doing sports on the weekend, right? Everybody's job is filling off. Like your time is frayed. Like you have all of these things. Church becomes easy to push to the side, even that digitally, right? However, as times start to get harder again, and sadly enough, we're entering into that space as people start losing jobs. As we are worried about the education for our kids, as we are worried about how people get to meet, as we are worried about who we call community, then the
Yeah.
church again is able to shine. We as the church have to always be ready for the moment by which we are needed, right? And oftentimes people don't know that they need you until they need you. And so this
Yes,
this this
Lord.
becomes that more this becomes that moment when we're wondering if our kids will be able to learn about slavery in a real term, or do we try to act like they're people that got on boats that desire to come here with a very different name, right? And this was brand new for them.
Jesus.
When somebody could tell you that your kids that slavery was a benefit, it was a benefit to black people, and this has made them better. That is the space where church and faith are really able to show up and show out. And oftentimes we point, even in history, to the moments where the church has been the most salient, the most prolific. It is always surrounded by cultural challenges that have allowed the message to keep moving.
Mm.
And I believe we are coming up to one of those, the epicenter of one of those very soon here in the US. And prayerfully, churches are ready. And not just, hey, how many people do you have to come to your church? What size is your budget? How nice is your building? But really, how are we really taking care of people? How are we standing there with folks? Who are we showing up for? Are we all right that the immigrant is getting snatched out from in front of our church and we don't say anything? And then all of a sudden it's too late. And so I think we don't think that we need community now, but we're about to know very soon how deeply we really need it.
Mm.
And I think also too, just what we're missing in terms of people's spiritual formation. I still hear preachers all the time saying, "Y'all know the story,"
And they
and
don't.
I'm looking at their congregation like, "No, no, These people did not grow up in church. Their
Right.
mama didn't. Their daddy didn't. They don't know the story. So stop saying that." Okay,
Hmm.
a lot of people in your church have no understanding of church, no muscle memory of church. So they need the spiritual formation. And
Hmm.
I'm hoping that we can recognize, just as Pastor Reynolds said, that the church, when it's been at its best, has been under fire.
Hmm.
Mhm.
It's been under fire. I was reading, looking at someone's dissertation, and looking at that great book on anti-literacy laws, and how black churches took those moments because literacy had been outlawed,
Hmm.
and they were doing the underground teaching anyway.
Period.
They were going to do it because a part of what education represented was freedom. Okay, you could get to vote. You could learn so many things if you could just read and write.
Hmm.
And it was often the case that people who just got an eighth grade education taught everybody else, because you had learned so much then by the eighth grade. And I'm just hopeful
Yes.
that
Hmm.
in the midst of this Trumpian moment, and it's not just Trump, because he didn't create the whole moment by himself.
Correct.
But in the midst of this moment, that churches understand that this is our calling.
Yeah.
For black churches, anyway,
For
this
Yes.
real.
is our calling. This is our moment. This is our moment. Not an hour and a half worship service, okay? But this is our moment. And I think it was Dr. Jefferson who said, we close down the Sunday schools. We rarely teach Bible study. And I think I did a broadcast 4 or 5 months ago on those numbers. So I don't know. When are
Hmm.
people getting this spiritual formation?
They're not.
And all we do online, like I said, is say good morning and we're praying for you.
Hmm.
Where is the spiritual formation with all of these amazing new tools that we have?
Correct.
Where is it? I'm running out of time quickly, but I want to get in another question, uh, Doctor, and you all can, and feel free to jump in and comment further if you want. It was like Pastor Reynolds, I think you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
No, and the other thing I was going to say on the flip side of that is we also have to remember that the Black church was also a hush harbor. So we kind of have this duality of space where we need to get a lot of stuff out in the public, but we also
Mm-hmm.
need to be intentional. What things do we not want to be in public? What thing might be good not to be in the digitized space, especially if we come into a world where we need to be protesting, finding strategy, fighting against. We used to say that the revolution wouldn't be televised, but right now, man, the show is digitized, and we wonder why it's not working because all it takes is Facebook or somebody else to turn it off, and we got no mechanisms to
Yeah,
to
well, I
move
don't
things
know where
forward.
you. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Keeping it at a hushed level when everybody has a camera. And
Right?
we just talked about spiritual formation and not spiritual. So good luck.
Yeah,
Good luck
indeed,
with
indeed.
keeping some stuff out of spaces. The revolution is being televised and it's gonna be streamed.
Right.
You don't have to
No
like it,
revolution.
just watching it. Just go ahead and watch it get streamed. Let me close this. Let me close this way. And I think there are preachers who understand that the revolution is being streamed, and you can tell it by the way they're doing their work and by the way that they're using media.
Hmm.
They're using media. They know their underground strategies that they've come to with talking to one or two people. They've done that, but they know the revolution is being streamed. Uh,
Hmm.
all of this said, uh, Dr. Robinson, give us a couple of books
A couple.
in a swipe and at least. I mean, if you got more, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, if you got 3, 4, etc., absolutely by all means. And a swipe and soundbite culture, a couple of books that you would recommend that preachers read.
Okay, I do have a few, and I will, without apology, admit I'm a womanist theologian. So many of the resources I'm going to offer you all who are streaming or watching us today are that of Produced of Woman. And because of who I am, I'm going to start with myself. I Homiletic is a forthcoming book that'll be coming out. So go forward and look forward. If
Yes,
you are part
yes.
of Academy of Homiletics, it has been published as an article there. So I Homiletic is a piece that is by me. There is the Digital Cathedral.
Now you're saying it's an article coming or there's a book coming too?
So there's already been an article, but there's a forthcoming book.
Yes, yes. So we got a book coming from Dr. Jefferson and Dr. Robinson. Love to hear that. Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
The Digital Cathedral by Keith Anderson.
Yes.
Black Millennials in the Church by Joshua Mitchell. Plug by Stacey Dandridge. Digital Homiletics by, Dr. Young, Y-A-N-G is his last name. First name, Sunggua.
Say that book again.
Yeah,
Digital
I got that
Homiletics.
one too.
It is in the series of Working Preachers for those who are in that series. So it's in Digital Homiletics. Again, first name Sungggu, last name Yang. My next book that I would like to recommend is Networking the Black Church by Erica Galt. And then again, because I just feel like people need to know about the women out here. Listen, Melva Sampson was doing this. Nichelle Guidry was doing this. Lavon Briggs, Stacey Dandridge out of Memphis, Dr. Phelan Wilson, and Dr. Brenda Darden Wilkerson, who have been doing this work for people to engage. And Jasmine Thomas are names I want you to look up. But the resources I lifted up, I will share with you, Dr. Simmons, so you can post them later. But those are the resources I would say, get involved, get tagged in. They address digital, coming across the digital divide as preacher and pastor, ministry development, small group, youth and young adult ministry. So you want to tag into those resources.
Absolutely. And the Digital Cathedral, I am rereading because it's so packed with so much that we are missing in terms of this moment as preachers. Reverend Reynolds, give us some books.
All right. So a couple of them that I think have been really helpful. Philip Butler out of iLift School of Theology has some great work on digital spirituality as technology of resistance. I love kind of the work that he's doing there. He has a forthcoming book that's an article. Justin Lester has a book about called The Church of AI, and I think he's doing some really great work. In fact, he has a page where he just makes recommendations on how you can go and employ different technologies to try to make life easier. He's another
You all
person I would.
just go to the Facebook page.
Yeah,
Just go to Justin Lester's Facebook page because he gives away free. He just gives away free information that
Great,
folk
great
need all the
information.
time, who are
Yep.
struggling. And he really remembers churches with 150 members or
Or
fewer.
less. Yep. Or
Yeah,
less.
he really, really does. Go ahead, Pastor Reynolds.
The other book that I love is Lerone Martin's Preaching on Wax.
Yes.
So
Oh,
although
yeah.
this is it's
Classic.
slightly different, it really helps us to start thinking about what preaching does and how these mediums really do get a way to change. And the other one is by Lynn St. Clair. It is called The Scripturalizing Revelations. And what I love about her, she really gave me an inlet into how to think about even how certain technologies change the way in which we interpret and understand the wording and the information. And so I really used her a
Scripturalizing.
lot.
It's say that again. Scripturalizing what?
Scripturalizing Revelation is that's the name of the
Oh,
book.
okay.
By Darden. It is phenomenal. I used it as a piece to help me as I started to deal with the homiletic or the hermeneutic of AI and large language models. So I how's Chat GPT or Claude or Gemini interpreting text? Because we have to be honest. Pastors are using this. It's making it easier. And what are they getting out of that?
Yeah,
That stuff is really good for us to be thinking about, which
yeah,
ultimately will lead to my
yeah. A lot of that
dissertation.
stuff is scaring me.
Yeah, yeah.
Because what AI does not do is put you in touch with the big themes of the faith, and instead gives you this list, and none of it, or let me say, very little of it is black, and we have not
Which
learned
is
how
getting
to.
better.
It
Is
is getting better,
it
but what
is,
has to get better is
and you can
our
train it
prompts.
too. Absolutely. But then you can also train it, which is that's the scarier
Yeah,
part. Like you can train it on a voice. Like I can say, hey, give me this from Dr. Martha Simmons'
yeah, that's true.
perspective,
Yeah,
and it won't be you, but it definitely can
it'll
point
be
you in some
close.
good
Yeah.
directions.
Yeah, yeah, like I said, and you're right. It's our prompts and our
Hmm.
training.
Hmm.
Uh, I thought I was going to end up going crazy trying to do the training. Woo! But it's
Yeah,
worth
it
the
is.
effort
It's a benefit.
because of the time it saves you later.
Hmm.
So once you tell it, look, here are the themes that's got to be picked up, and then you know your people. That's the other thing I really want preachers to pick up. You need to be able to tell AI your people.
Yep.
Tell them your people. No, I do not want to hear from what's the guy that just died? What's his name?
Oh Lord, John
Uh,
MacArthur.
They said
John
on
McCarthy.
Facebook that was your favorite theologian.
Oh, you know what? Because you are my guest, I'm going to ignore that. Like the preacher who called me to give me condolences on his death. Oh, that was a wonderful conversation. But you have to actually, you can tell it your
Hmm.
people, teach it your people. So it's not John MacArthur for you. And for me, it might be Prathia Hall. It might be
Correct.
Gardner Taylor. It might be uh, Jason Reynolds, Mark Jefferson, Dominique Robinson. You can tell it your people. And I think that's something that a lot of preachers are not doing. Now,
Mhm.
the
Hmm.
thing is, like I said, a lot of AI is not black, but it's getting better. But by continually telling it your people, here's what happens: you shift the way it tended to lead you.
Hmm.
You shift it because it said, "Oh, okay, here's Simmons again. I know she's going for that black stuff," and that's what you're trying to do. But I digress. Dr. Jefferson, give us some books or articles. Or wait a
Um,
minute, Dr. Reverend Reynolds, were you done with your list?
Oh, that's good. We
Okay.
stopped there.
Uh huh.
here's a couple of books that I would put forth for our consideration. Shoshana Zuboff, Shoshana Zuboff, Zuboff, The
Mm-hmm.
Age of Surveillance Capitalism, The Fight for a Human Future at the Frontier of Power. The Age of Surveillance Capitalism will be all you need in the
Yeah.
Amazon
Hmm.
search.
Yeah.
Sophia Noble, Algorithms of Oppression.
Hmm.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
We have Ruha Benjamin, Race After
Race and
Technology.
technology.
And the last one I'll put forth is Joel Bakan, called The Corporation. And I put that forth as a way of framing the world that we live in. His basic argument is that we're run the world is a large corporation that has psychopathic tendencies, which therefore makes us psychopathic, and therefore technology in the hands of these psychopathic institutions will lead us to our peril if we're not careful. And so,
Whoa, say that book again.
the corporation.
Corporation.
Uh-huh. The name of the person.
Joel Bakan, Bakan. There's also a really, really the book is also a movie on YouTube for free that you can look up.
Amen.
And I recommend doing both, but the movie and the book are very similar. So if you watch one, you'll get the other.
My goodness, I'll go to YouTube. All right, my goodness. Okay, yeah. I love that premise. Love that premise. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our time, and I'm just so appreciative. Just such an amazing conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, these are our current faces of people doing homiletics. I know we know the older names, okay? At least most of us do. We know the Frank Thomases who helped train two of the guests today. We know those names. You need to know these names. These are the names who are doing it now and will be for the next 25 or so years. These are the names. These are the names. Some are pastors, deans of chapel, okay? And some are just doing straight academics. These are the people. So let's not sit back and say, I wonder who is doing, etc., and then bombard ourselves with white text. I ain't got nothing against white people. I just have a problem with white supremacy. With white text that do not address us, do not help us. These three people are black, blackety, black. And if you don't know you need that, keep on living. Keep on living. This moment is going to teach you that. And I can't say enough how appreciative I am. Dr. Jefferson is in Canada. He made time. Dr. Reynolds is in California. Okay. What are you, 3 or 4 hours ahead of me?
Three.
Uh-huh. He made time. And then Dr. Robinson is busy working on her PhD, and she's a full-time professor. I can't say how appreciative I am that you all took the time to share with me and my guest today. God bless you in all of your work going forward. Someone asked that we would post the resources. So if you all would, anything that you want to, just drop it in the chat. People would really appreciate that. Somebody said this work is so wonderfully black. I totally agree. I totally agree. God bless you. Join me next Monday at noon on Facebook and YouTube as I talk about the Chitlin Circuit and hooping. Okay. First time in 8 years, but I've been wanting to do it. So now I am definitely going to do it. Thank you for hitting my Cash App as an independent scholar. And also thank you for all of those who are liking, sharing, subscribing on YouTube. And last but not least, as I always say, share the video. It won't cost you anything. This video is going to help a lot of people, and I believe it's going to be one of my biggest of the year for so much new and needed information. God bless you to my guest. We will continue to look for your great work. Take care, everybody. Have a great week, everyone.
All right, folks. I guess that's it.
Peace.
But it's a pleasure. I'll get your contact information, Pastor Reynolds, from Dr. Simmons, and I'll shoot you a line. Dom, you already know what it is. Look forward to hearing from you. And anyway, I just want to say it's a pleasure to sit with you all. Learned a great deal. And my pessimism about the future of preaching has gone down some.
Just a little bit, right?
I'm just
There's a few
saying.
more of us out there.
I'm just saying, man.
Let's go
Just
live, beloved.
I mean, well, think about it. I mean, you're in California, you're in Texas, and I'm in Nova Scotia. I mean, God has this is the A team, so we gotta go out here and do the best we can. So, if I can be of support to any of y'all, please let me know.
Same here. Same here.
Love
All right,
y'all.
y'all.
Be blessed.
Peace.